Hi guys. I've been excited to do this review for a while. This is The Money Store by Death Grips, one of the defining industrial hip hop albums of last decade and of all time as well. It takes inspiration, I'd say, from something like Nine Inch Nails, but takes it again in a much more hip hop direction than compared to like what Nine Inch Nails did, where it was a lot more rock focused. It's got that sort of noisy production to it, where it sort of sounds like it's coming out of like a supermarket speaker or something, where it's all like it has all this grime on it that actually really adds to it. It feels super detailed. Um, yeah. So starting off this album, we get these sort of polyrhythmic toms that lead us into our first track, "Get Got," which is this song has the closest thing this album gets to a chorus in its hook. That brings me to another point. The hooks on here are just amazing, like the best hooks ever, and I'd say I can't think of any more catchy, in a good way, sort of hook where you just like you want it to get stuck in your head. It's that good. But Get Got, after they go through the chorus, it's sort of a chorus, but not really, because it's only like 4 bars, and then he's done. But after that, MC Ride, he raps over this really weird. I believe it's sampled from like a Middle Eastern sounding cell phone ringer or something. But it sounds really odd, and it goes like perfectly with this album, where it's like hyper futuristic, but at the same time sounding like it's 50 years old and 50 years before it should have come out at the same time. Uh, like I said, that's sort of the appeal. But following that track is "The Fever," which the beat on here sort of samples this. Um, I believe they took like a kid's synthesizer, and one of the keys on there was a sound that like a motorcycle. So they repeat that for the beat, and they have all these complex sort of math rocky drums in the background, just like Zach Hill is just like pounding his brains out on the cymbals and on the bass drum. But the way it's produced, you could barely notice it until uh, the synthesizer, the sample go away, and then it's just mind blowing. The hook on here is phenomenal, where you have this synth line of just do 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 do, and that's all it is. But it sounds so good. Uh, yeah. Following that is Lost Boys, which again, the hook is a little bit lighter on this one, but it's still really good. Of just Lost Boys, Lost Boys, Lost Boys, Lost Boys. And at the beginning, they have like a computer voice reading it, like a computer generated voice reading it off, and then later on, MC Ride sort of raps it. His flows on here are really interesting, because like half the time he's barely even rapping; he's just shouting, which that's very much the appeal, because this is supposed to be like angry music that you can sort of groove to. It's sort of a niche, but yeah. After that is Blackjack, which has all these vocal sort of distortions and effects, so it like his voice sounds really weird on the hook. Sorry. Uh, Here. Sorry about that. But yeah. And the start and sort of throughout the song, you get this like this bass drum, but it's so distorted it almost sounds like they're just like shooting air at the speakers, and it's just going like pounding. Yeah. After that is Hustle Bones, one of my favorite songs on the album. It again sort of has this motorcycle sample, though I think this time it's like an actual motorcycle that they sampled, or maybe it's just any various automobile. But it has these sort of vocal lines at the end of every couple of bars that just fall off, and the entire time it just feels like you're in like a constant state of free fall until you get to the hook, where you have these ascending, really synthetic vocal samples. Most of these are obscure, so I don't know where they're from, but they're definitely sampled because they don't sound like anyone on here's voice. After that is I've Seen Footage, which has throughout the song this sort of like the synth line. It feels like it's just trying to die, but it's sort of too. I don't exactly know how I was gonna finish that, but it like it keeps going, but it's like it's constantly trying to fall off after like each note of like do 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 do. Yeah, and the sort of build up on here is really great. This sort of has like a drop to it where all the percussion drops away, and you're just left with MC Rides rapping, and again sort of like shouting, and the synthesizer that in the background. After that is Double Helix, which has this. So you really want to know double for the hook. It's pretty obscure. Again, it's pretty odd sounding. But they also have these, like again, really oddly sampled vocals. Really great as well. And then System Blower is weird. It has this mostly electronic sounding beat to it, but then they sampled. I actually know this one. It's like a tennis player screaming, but they like slow it down and distort it to the point where it just sounds like almost like a computer that's like having difficulties, I'd say, trying to like make a human voice, but they like speed it up and slow it down at certain points, so it sort of makes up part of the beat for the song. And then after that is The Cage. These songs I don't have a ton to say on, but I do like the sort of straightforward beat on here. It's not super complex, and I don't think it's trying to be. It's called The Cage. It's supposed to be sort of square in its delivery, if you will. And then Punkweight has an odd intro to it of like again a stereotypical like Middle Eastern style like phone ringer or something like that. Ringtone, that's what it's called. Sorry. But it sounds really it's entertaining while it's on, and then it just gets slowed down and then completely distorted away until it just makes up part of the beat, and you hear the vocals come in only occasionally. And then the 11th track on here, it has these odd horns, again sampled, I believe, in the pseudo intro. I'd call it pseudo because it's not exactly an intro because most of the beats there, but there's still extra elements that later get changed. And then throughout you get again these weird vocal samples, but they like correspond with like the bass hits. And then the 12th song on here again, it has sort of a correspondent, like it sounds similar to the second song on here, the Fever, but it's a lot. There's not a too much of a difference where the hook is just him, MC Ride reading off the title, except it's not the title on the Fever, but just reading off a vocal line, and there's these synthesizers in the background that only appear on the hook and nowhere else, and they're super catchy. And then after that is another one of my favorites, Hacker, which starts with like, it sounds like it's out on the street, and all of a sudden you hear this like pounding bass drum in the background, and MC Ride complaining about how like if he leaves his stuff outside, people will take it. Before it sort of all the background noise drops away into this sampled snare line that's they sampled it on their previous album too a lot more heavily, but this samples it again. And it'll sort of build up until this guitar line comes in really quickly, and then it drops. Everything drops, and there's just this and the snare drums just go absolutely crazy, and they keep going for a little bit, and then you get these huge ascending synths on the hook. Just this massive hook. It's so great. It's one of the greatest hooks ever written. And then following that, there's two more times where the hook comes in. But after the first time the hook comes in, you get this really good dance rhythm that I've never really heard on any other Death Grips song. And of course, it's not something you're gonna dance to. It's way too grimy to do so, to like actually hear it on like a dance floor or something. But yeah, everything on this song is perfect. It's easily one of my favorite songs, along with Hustle Bones and I've Seen Footage. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say on the album. Comment below what your thoughts are on the album if you've heard it. If you haven't heard it, definitely give it a listen if you're into anything like experimental, or if you're into even if you're just not, it's a great way to get into it if you are interested in that area of music. This thing is a 10 out of 10, no questions about it. Every song on here is super catchy, super grimy, and it sort of just comes to show that, like, that's sort of what makes Death Grips interesting, is that they, like, so perfectly hover on the line between super mainstream and super underground. Yeah, that's all. That's about everything. Thanks for watching. Bye.